Poor people are often told to buy less stuff. Rich people learned a different lesson: buy back time. That difference sounds small, but it changes how the whole day is experienced. That is one of the biggest hidden differences between looking rich and living rich. Looking rich is visual. Living rich is often logistical. The outside version of wealth is watches, cars, houses, trips, and beautiful objects. The inside version is fewer errands, fewer waits, fewer emergencies, fewer wasted hours. It is not always glamorous, but it is powerful. Once you see that difference, a lot of rich behavior starts making more sense. Rich people still buy things, obviously, but the smartest luxury is often not the thing itself. It is the time the thing saves, the friction it removes, or the mental space it protects. This video is about why rich people buy time, not things. More importantly, it is about why time control becomes a quiet form of power. And it is also about why that is not just a productivity trick. It is a class advantage. Because time is the one resource everyone talks about as equal, while money quietly makes it unequal. The hours are equal on the clock, but not equal in experience. Everyone gets 24 hours. That sounds fair until you look at how those hours are spent, interrupted, protected, or stolen by necessity. One person spends 3 hours commuting, cooking, cleaning, waiting, and fixing problems. Those hours may never appear on a receipt, but they still cost something. Another person pays systems and people to remove much of that friction. Both technically had the same day. They did not have the same usable day. That is the hidden math most lifestyle advice ignores. That difference is enormous. It affects energy, relationships, health, work, and the ability to plan ahead instead of just react. The Bureau of Labor Statistics measures time use because time is not abstract. People spend it on work, childcare, household activities, leisure, and sleep. And once you start measuring time, you notice something uncomfortable. A lot of ordinary life is not expensive because the tasks are glamorous. It is expensive because the tasks are unavoidable, repetitive, and timed badly. Groceries, cleaning, laundry, scheduling, commuting, childcare logistics, calls, forms, repairs. The tasks are ordinary, but the total weight is not ordinary. None of these sound like luxury problems, but escaping them is absolutely a luxury, especially when the escape happens every week. That is where the first layer appears: domestic time. Cleaning services, laundry pickup, meal delivery, grocery delivery, home maintenance, childcare support. These are not just convenience purchases, they are transfers of time. Someone pays money so a burden moves off their calendar. You pay money so that a chunk of your week comes back. Research published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that spending money on time-saving purchases can promote happiness. The mechanism is not mysterious. Less time pressure usually means less daily stress. The finding is simple but powerful. Buying time can reduce time pressure and improve well-being. That sounds obvious, but many people still spend as if objects are the default reward. Status teaches people to buy proof, not relief. The rich often learn to treat time itself as the reward. A clear afternoon can be more valuable than another object in a room already full of objects. This is why a housekeeper can be more valuable than a decorative luxury item. The object looks impressive. The saved time changes the week. One decorates life, the other changes the structure of life. The second layer is waiting. Regular life is full of waiting. Airports, customer service, medical offices, traffic, banks, restaurants, government paperwork. Waiting is one of the most normalized forms of time loss. Waiting looks free because nobody sends an invoice for it. But waiting is paid with life. It is paid with patience, energy, attention, and sometimes missed opportunities. Wealth buys ways around waiting. Sometimes openly, through priority lanes, and sometimes quietly, through better planning, better staff, and better access. Priority lanes, premium support, private appointments, concierge services, better locations, faster delivery. Each one says the same thing: your waiting can be reduced if you can pay. This is not just comfort. It changes how the day feels, because less friction leaves more energy behind. A person who waits less has more energy for decisions that actually matter. A person who waits all day often arrives at the important decision already tired. That is a hidden wealth advantage, not only more money, but less depletion. The rich often begin important moments less drained. The third layer is location. Rich people often buy time by buying proximity. The location may look like status, but the daily payoff is shorter distance and less friction. Closer to work, closer to good schools, closer to doctors, closer to safer streets and better options. Location is one of the most powerful time purchases because it saves time every single day. Repeated savings become a lifestyle, not a one-time benefit. A shorter commute is not just transportation. It is more sleep, more family time, more exercise, more recovery. That is why real estate is often secretly a time product. The price is not only for walls and square footage, it is for proximity. The expensive neighborhood is not only selling status, it is selling minutes, safety, and reduced friction. And that is why distance is not neutral. Distance can be cheap in rent and expensive in life. A cheaper home far away may save money on paper while charging time every day. This is the trade many middle-class families know too well. The cheaper option often sends the bill through the clock instead of the bank account. The fourth layer is delegation. Rich people do not only work harder, they delegate more. That distinction matters because effort and leverage are not the same thing. Assistants, accountants, lawyers, planners, drivers, tutors, coaches, managers. Each one removes a category of friction. The wealthy person is not only buying help, they are buying a cleaner operating system for daily life. An accountant buys time by reducing tax confusion. More importantly, they reduce the chance that a confusing mistake becomes an expensive problem later. A lawyer buys time by reducing legal chaos. A personal assistant buys time by protecting attention. In a crowded life, protected attention can be worth more than another luxury item. A driver buys time by turning travel into calls, rest, or planning. Delegation is not just doing less. It is choosing what your attention is allowed to touch, which is much more powerful than it sounds. That is a huge advantage, because attention is the gateway to decisions. Better attention often means better choices, better negotiations, and fewer expensive mistakes. The fifth layer is health. Wealth buys faster appointments, better navigation, second opinions, preventive care, trainers, chefs, and recovery time. It buys more chances to solve the problem early. This does not make rich people immortal, but it can make health problems less chaotic to manage. Less chaos means less secondary damage. And when health problems create less chaos, they steal less time. That is another way money buys time. It buys capacity to recover. A worker without pay flexibility may lose income just to handle the same appointment. A richer person can often absorb the interruption. Same body problem, different time damage. That is the uncomfortable difference money can create around the same human vulnerability. The sixth layer is children. Raising children is partly a love story and partly a logistics operation. The love may be equal, but the logistics are not. Tutors, childcare, camps, rides, meal help, house help, flexible work, better schools. For rich families, money can turn parenting chaos into managed coordination. For ordinary families, the same tasks can become a second job after the first job. That invisible second shift drains money, time, and patience together. This is one reason wealth compounds through families. The advantage is not only money transferred later, but time pressure reduced now. Children in wealthy households do not only inherit money, they inherit organized time around them, and that organized time often becomes opportunity. That time can become homework help, better sleep, fewer missed appointments, more enrichment, and less household panic. Again, this is not magic, it is logistics with money behind it. The seventh layer is decision quality. When you are constantly rushed, you make decisions under pressure. When you can buy time, you can think longer, compare better, and avoid desperate choices. That is not laziness, that is better decision terrain. This is one of the least visible class advantages. The rich can often wait for the right deal, the right job, the right lawyer, the right doctor, the right investment. That patience is not only personality, it is funded. Waiting is a luxury when waiting does not destroy you. If your bills are covered, patience can look like wisdom. If not, patience can look impossible. Poor and stretched people are often forced into urgent decisions. Urgency is expensive. It leads to worse loans, worse jobs, worse purchases, and worse terms. The person with no time often pays the highest price, so time is not just comfort. Time is bargaining power. The eighth layer is memory and life quality. People do not remember every object they bought. They remember the life they had time to live, the people they saw, and the stress they avoided. This is why many wealthy people shift from stuff to experiences, access, wellness, travel, and privacy. They are buying conditions, not just possessions. At a certain level, another object does not change the day very much, but another free hour can change the day immediately. That is the quiet logic behind time wealth. The richest lifestyle is often not louder, it is less interrupted. Now, here is the honest criticism. Buying time often means paying someone else to spend theirs. That does not automatically make it immoral, but it does make the system unequal. Every convenience economy has workers inside it. The comfort of one class can become the labor of another. That does not cancel the value of the service, but it should keep the analysis honest. So the point is not to romanticize rich convenience as pure wisdom. The point is to understand what wealth is really buying. And if you are not rich, the lesson is still useful. You can borrow the logic even when you cannot copy the lifestyle. You may not be able to buy your way out of every task, but you can still ask a better question. What actually gives time back? What expense buys back real time? What purchase only adds maintenance? This is the kind of question that separates useful spending from lifestyle clutter. A cheap object that creates chores is not always cheap. A modest service that saves stress may be more valuable than a status upgrade. Relief is often a better purchase than applause. Before buying something, ask what it will do to your calendar. Will it save time, steal time, require storage, require repair, require attention, or create a new obligation? This question sounds boring, but it protects your future calendar. That is a better test than asking whether it looks impressive. Also notice where small-time investments matter. Batching errands, automating bills carefully, reducing commute friction, simplifying possessions, protecting sleep, using delivery strategically. These are small versions of the same rich person logic. None of that turns an ordinary budget into a billionaire lifestyle, but it does move the focus from status consumption to time control. That shift alone can make spending smarter and life less cluttered. And that is the final truth. Rich people buy time because time is the luxury underneath every other luxury. Things can signal wealth. Time lets you feel it. That is why the richest purchase is often not the object, but the freedom around it, the space to live instead of constantly manage.